Hello everyone, this is Christian Meldex Interactive, and in this video we are going to focus on adding some state to our Vuex store. So we're going to start by defining what I'm calling an account model, which is just a simple object that contains a couple of properties on it, an ID and a name. We're going to use that to create an initial state, so our initial state will contain just a couple of account models. Once we have that initial state, we can then populate our Vuex store, and from there we can create a view component that we can use to, for right now, just display that state. So we'll also have modified it so that we'll reclaim our About button in our main nav to point to our accounts view. But that's what we'll take care of in this video. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started here. So the first thing that we're going to do is change something that was added to the project for us. So when I initially created the project, I told the installer that we were going to use Vuex. So it did a couple of things automatically for us. One of them was to create this store.ts file in the root of our source folder. We're going to end up with a bunch of store files related to the models that we have. So I'm going to do, you could leave it here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the store.ts file into a folder that I've already created called store. So let's paste that in. We'll get our little beeping sounds here. We'll say no just to see what we're going to change. So we broke things now at the moment. When it was created for us, the store.ts file, it was created with this default export. I'm not a fan of default export, so we're going to export const store. That changes that. And one of the other things that was done for us is in the main.ts file, the store was being imported so that it can be set in the main view component. So of course we've changed the location of our file here, so we'll just do at store, and I guess it should be at store.store at the moment because we have to also create an index.ts file. So in there I'm going to export from at store/store. So now this import makes sense, except it's not a default, it's not a default export anymore. So let's just put our little curly brackets here, and we should be working once again. Perfect. And what do we do now? What do we do now? It's a good question. Let's go to the store folder here, new file, and we're going to call that account-model.ts. So this is going to be the first class that we have within our store. And what I'm going to do is to export an interface from here, which is the account config. I've mentioned it in previous videos. Typically when I put an interface with config at the end, that's going to be the interface or the object signature that you want to include to create the object, in this case the account. I guess it could be account model config, but whatever. So ID is going to be a number, and we'll have a name for them, which is a string. Now let's export class account model. So our account model has our two fields on it, private ID, probably could be sort of overboard for some things to do this. So I'm basically creating some private fields. We'll have public getters so that basically we want them to be getters instead of fields. I don't know, a whole encapsulation kind of thing. Maybe I'm done too much C#, I guess. But we'll stick with it here. So we're going to return the ID, and we have our name, and we need to create or populate all those things. Account config. So this.id equals config. And this name So now everything's happy with us. We'll go ahead and save that. A reoccurring theme for all this is going to be going back to this index file here and just keep adding things to it. So we now need to export star from /account model. So now we have that exported. And I think while we're in a indexing or the interface mood here, we're going to go back to our store folder and create a new file. We're going to call that account-types.ts. So outside of the interface needed to create the object, so the iAccount config, I want to keep the other types and interfaces in their separate folders. And so we're going to have the account types. So in here, import from /store/account model. We have our account model, and we want to export an interface. It's called account state. So on our Vuex store, we're going to have an object to represent, or that's going to contain our accounts, and that object is going to have the signature. It's going to have an index, which is a number, and it's going to have items, which is account model array. So the index is going to be us keeping track of what ID the new account should be. So when you add an account, here's the index for it. It's what they would say is a monotonically increasing number. So it's always going to just increase by 1. It'll never go down. So we'll save that. And I think we can close the account models. And I'm going to assume that I need to do, guess I did it after the next step. Of course, we're going to export that here. You close the main.ts file as well. And so to go along with our model, what we need is in the Vuex store for our account state, we're going to need an initial state. So let's create a new file, call that account-initial state.ts. So inside of there, so no surprise, we're going to need the account model itself. And we're going to want also from the types that we just created, we need the account state. And so we'll say accounts, which is an account model array, starts off empty. In the end, what we are going to do, well, let's just do let index equal 1. We're going to do some work here in a second with that. So export const initial state, which is an account state, is going to have the index and items. Counts. Perfect. Now, if we're testing things, doing development, we want to maybe have some data in the state to begin with. So we'll seed it with some. So if we're in node env, so if that's equal to development, then what we'll do is just say accounts.push. We need a new account model. We need our object, and it has an ID and a name. I just called them name-1. We're going to be very explicit on what we're doing. So we'll look back, remember what we need to do. So let's increment the index. Accounts.push, and we need a new account. ID index and name, cleverly name-2. We need also to increment our index. All right, so now we have an initial state. So let's save that. And let's go down to create another file real quick. And so a new file and store-types.ts. So of course the types for the store. And inside that we're going to import and store slash, oh, really? Account types. And of course that's messed up now. So inside of there we have the account state. And so we'll export interface. So what are you doing down there? Store state. So the interface for the whole state, it'll have a item on there or object of counts, and that has the interface. All right, now back to our index. We have to export a few things, right? Star from store slash account types. We did. We also just did store slash store types. Save that. It might be good now. Store blah blah. So back to our store here. So in it, we do need to import a couple things, right? So import from store slash account initial state. And so we have the initial state. We're going to have a few of them. So let's name it something else. Account state. Perfect. Must have messed up somewhere. So initial state. Yep, I can't spell. Initial state. Back over here. Now we're good. Const state. So store state, which apparently I forgot to import. Import from store slash store types, and that is the store state. So store state has accounts. Really? Something else is, of course, messed up, I think, at the moment. Account state, yeah, because I don't know how to program. Equal sign. So we have our state here, and I don't like to. People will be mad at me here. We'll have a debate over 2 spaces versus 4. No, just give me my cursor back. Perfect. And now what we can do after having these things out is just remove this so that it puts our state on the store. So with that being saved, everything's working fine. Actually, I didn't think about it at the time, but we could see, actually, take that back. Take it back. So I do have open, though, the developer tools, and we have view here. Can we make this bigger? Yes, we can. So in there, we have view. Probably should have clicked on the thing that I wanted first. I don't know what the little symbols mean. So if we go into our base state here, we have in our base state, we have our accounts object. It has an index of 3 and it has 2 items on there. So that part's all working, right? So we have it information in our state, but now we need to be able to actually see it. So let's go in here, and store is good to go. Let's go into our views. We'll create a new view, new file, call it accounts.view. And in here, just create temporary one, so accounts. So what we need then is to be able to get to that, and to get to that means routing. So in our components we have our routing folder in there, and I think inside of types we have our routes enum. So let's create accounts. We're good to go in there, and now that we have that enum, we can go to the routing service and actually create us a new route. So let's just steal this one here, and we'll call that accounts. So accounts floating around all over the place, so I'm going to give it that name. That's going to be the path. The file is the accounts. The enum is the accounts. The file is also accounts, and let's not forget to change the Webpack name. So we have it created. Let's add it to our array. Accounts. Routing service is now taken care of. So next up is if we go into our main nav, in the main nav file itself, here's our buttons. So we have our wallet button down there, which is right now telling us about. So now it's accounts, and the route is accounts. It's going to complain at us unless we add in that enum down here. So it's accounts. Take the time to could have done all that beforehand. So accounts. It's updated down there. If we hit the accounts button, we go to, might be hard to see, but it says accounts up there. We're going to change some stuff here in a second anyway. Let's see. So we're back to our accounts.view file. So let's add some stuff here. So in the template, let us make an h1 with accounts div.headings. Inside of there, we'll have a label that says name, div.accounts, and that is going to be down here, v-4 equals account in account state.items. And while we're at it, v-bind key account.id. We need to display something, we need to see something, so account.name. We're going to need to have access to all of that, and we'll do import from /store, and we want from there the account state. Now, as I mentioned previously, since we've imported or defined the store at the root of our application, we have access to it in all of our components. And to get access here, we're going to use a computed property account state. So type account state, and we're going to return this $store state.accounts. So for right now, we have, like I said, this $store is available to us. It has a property on the state. Maybe you'll be able to see it has a type of any on it right now. We'll deal with, I think, a better way of accessing the things like the states and the getters and such on the state. And we'll start in the next video. But for now, if we just save that, we have some information over there. So we have name 1, name 2 up in there. So we'll add just a little bit of styling to it. So let's do some sass here. I mentioned it before, and probably every time in these videos, is these imports here may not be appropriate for you. The Bourbon one just has some functions in there that and mix-ins and variables hold, obviously, variables. So accounts.container, and if I do add include padding, so the Bourbon will take care of converting that include to be padding top, padding right, padding bottom. So it'll add the padding individual declarations. So we have headings, accounts. On there, we'll have border bottom, 1 pix, solid, and variables has a thing in there called light gray. And then we'll do some add include padding here, 0.5 rem, and no. That way I can just say that I want to set top and bottom, and I'm not setting left and right, right? Okay, so if we save that, Hopefully things don't blow up in our face. I hear nothing, yet I see no change. Why no change? There we go. So now we have a little bit of styling in here, and we have our name 1 and name 2 being shown. So in this video, we've created our first model, which is the account model. We've added it to the store where we've created an initial state, and we have that being displayed on our user interface. Like I mentioned previously just a little bit ago here, that in the next video we're going to take care of what I think is a little bit better way of accessing the states on the store. We're also going to see how to add actions and mutations. So we'll create the ability to add a new account from our application. So right now all we can have is the initial state, but we'll take care of all of that in the next video. And until then, I will talk to you later. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.